Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to share my review of Tales of Argosa, Sky Tower of Belk Xos from Pickpocket Press. This is written by Stephen J. Grudzicki, and this 20-page softcover can be had over at DriveThruRPG for $9.95. Or you can grab the PDF absolutely free, also at DriveThruRPG. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Sky Tower of Belk Xos for Tales of Argosa. Couple of things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, the fine folks over at Pickpocket Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. It's important you know that. Also, this is an adventure framework. So if you're a player and your game master has picked this up, maybe they're talking about downloading it, regardless, I would definitely recommend tune out now. There are going to be spoilers. There are going to be additional spoilers as we page through this. You don't want the surprises of this ruined simply because you were watching this video. All right, so first thing we're going to do, let's take a look at the credits page. Something that I have been very, very pleasantly surprised by with Tales of Argosa is the artwork. Not only the amount of it, but the quality of it too. Really nice, very impressive. And as you can see here, quite a few interior artists on Sky Tower of Belk Xos. And the cartography is from Dyson Logos, a very well-known cartographer of role-playing games. So as far as the adventure itself, this is for Tales of Argosa. If you're not overly familiar with that role-playing game, it is a fantasy RPG. It is of the sword and sorcery mindset. It is also a very old school styled role-playing game without being an OSR role-playing game because its core mechanics are not built on OD&D, AD&D, or BX. So this does have an old school mindset though, which I absolutely love with Tales of Argosa. Something else that's important to keep in mind is the maximum level for player characters is 9. So we don't have that hit point bloat. We don't have that power creep that we see in many fantasy role-playing games. Keeping in mind, this is a low fantasy setting. In fact, this is essentially an adventure for the second edition of low fantasy gaming, which is titled Tales of Argosa. This is designed for 4th level characters, so this is mid-range. So in D&D or Pathfinder or many other role-playing games, 4th level would be fairly low level. Here, that's more mid-level as far as Tales of Argosa. The adventure itself is very interesting. So the Sky Tower, most people believe, is the former home of a very powerful sorcerer, Belk Xos, from centuries ago. And this is a floating tower that appears. And the player characters obviously are going to go check this out. I wish we did have some adventure hooks. We don't. So it's really up to the game master to come up with why are the player characters going to check out this Sky Tower. That's easy enough. But I do wish we had some hooks in here just to get things started. Now, keep in mind, this is an adventure framework. This is not necessarily an adventure because this is not plotted. We get details, we get information, and then it's up to the game master and the players to find out what happens. I like that quite a bit. Now, I do wish we had more motivation for some of the NPCs outside of just simply rolling on a reaction table. But these are very minor quibbles. So like I said, we've got this Sky Tower. It's the home of Belk Xos, this ancient, powerful sorcerer, right? Wrong, because the Sky Tower is not the former home of Belk Xos. It is an alien spaceship. So there's a bit of a tip of the cap here to Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. I know some folks out there, they do not want any science fiction mixed in with their fantasy. This is not going to be up their alley because you are dealing with aliens. There's some alien technology the player characters are going to have to play with. So if you don't like chocolate in your peanut butter, this is not going to be an adventure for you. Myself personally, I do not mind a little science fiction or science fantasy in my sword and sorcery. I mean, that dates all the way back to Robert E. Howard. I mean, there were nods to some of these strange creatures that Conan encountered not being of this earth. So I don't mind that at all. So we're going to get some events as far as making their way to the Sky Tower. We get some rumors, and then we're going to jump on in to the locations. So we've got the keyed locations. Presentation of this information is very nicely done, very easy and accessible for the game master at the table. We do have some prompts as far as what is the lighting, what is the sound that the player characters might hear. Are there like odors that they're going to notice? And then we also have some color coding. So if there's an NPC, possible enemy, or even a hazard that could cause damage to the player characters, that entry will be in red. If we have loot, that entry is in blue. And then if we have some sort of directional information, say it's a room where there's a door to the south, that will be in green. Love that. That is awesome. We do have some very interesting locations throughout the spaceship. We do have a couple of aliens who are still alive, and they are in stasis. And we also have the remains of Belk Xos on the ship, because even though it wasn't his home, it is the place he died. So there is even the specter of the sorcerer who can communicate with the player characters. And depending on how things go, they might get rewarded if they kill the two remaining aliens. Then again, a lot of different things can happen as far as this adventure framework. I do like the aliens. That's what we see on the cover. This is what the aliens look like. And pretty cool stuff. We even get some pre-generated characters who are very interesting. So they are all 4th level. Just show those off for you. I thought that was a nice addition, because if you wanted to, you could just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to run a one shot. Although, to be honest, I think this would take a couple of sessions to complete. And you've got your characters right there. Boom, jump right into it. Start having fun. This is a really interesting, really fun adventure framework. That's a peek inside. Let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts as well as my review score. I got to say, I think Sky Tower of Belk Xos should be a lot of fun for a vast number of players and game masters out there. Once again, if you don't like any science fiction in your fantasy, you don't want fantasy in your science fiction, this is not going to be an adventure for you and your players. But if you welcome that or you're not bothered by that, you should have a really good time with this. I do have some minor quibbles with this adventure framework. Like I said, I wish we had a little more motivation for the NPCs that the player characters will or possibly could encounter, and more outside of just rolling on a reaction table to see how they react to them. I would have liked to have seen that. But all in all, really solid tale. And like I said, I think a lot of people will have some fun with this. I have to mention that as far as converting this over to other OSR, fantasy role-playing games out there, Shouldn't be too difficult, but not as easy as some games might be, because mechanically, Tales of Argosa is quite different than D&D, Pathfinder, OD&D, AD&D, Basic Expert. It is a little bit different, so keep that in mind. I don't think it would be too tough. Plus, it's not as if this is a 100-page adventure framework either. All in all, really do like Sky Tower of Belk Xos. I don't know if we have any real low-level adventures available yet for Tales of Argosa. I did a live first look at this as well as other adventure frameworks on the dispatch last week. And this is for level 4. The others were for level 3. So sadly, we don't have any first level adventures available just yet for Tales of Argosa. I would certainly like to see those. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Tales of Argosa Sky Tower of Belk Xos an 8 out of 10. Pretty fun, pretty cool. And it's absolutely free in PDF. There's nothing holding you back from checking this out. Keep that in mind. All right, that is it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.